The old Labubu doll sat on the shelf, its painted smile frozen in time. Sarah had always found comfort in its cheerful expression, a constant companion through lonely nights. But tonight, something was different. As she reached for the doll, her fingers brushed against its smooth surface, and she froze. Tiny cracks had appeared on the doll's smile, barely visible in the dim light. Sarah blinked, convinced her eyes were playing tricks on her. She leaned in closer, squinting to get a better look. The cracks were definitely there, spider webbing across the doll's painted lips. A chill ran down her spine as she realized the cracks seemed to form a wider, more sinister grin. As the night wore on, Sarah found herself unable to sleep. She tossed and turned, her mind fixated on the doll's changing expression. In the darkness, she could have sworn the cracks were growing, spreading like tendrils across the doll's face. She pulled the covers over her head, trying to block out the unsettling thoughts. Just as she was drifting off, a faint sound caught her attention. Sarah's eyes snapped open, her heart racing. It was a soft, grinding noise, barely audible but unmistakable. She held her breath, straining to listen. The sound seemed to be coming from the shelf where the Labubu doll sat. Slowly, Sarah pushed herself up, her gaze fixed on the doll. In the moonlight streaming through the window, she could see its mouth shifting ever so slightly. The grinding sound grew louder, and Sarah's blood ran cold as she realized it was coming from inside the doll. With trembling hands, she reached for the lamp, flooding the room with light. The doll's smile was definitely wider now, the cracks more pronounced. Sarah leaned in, her curiosity overcoming her fear for a moment. That's when she saw it, a glint of something white behind the cracks. Her stomach lurched as she realized what she was seeing. Teeth? Sarah stumbled back, her mind reeling. This couldn't be happening. It was just a doll, wasn't it? She spent the rest of the night huddled in her bed, unable to take her eyes off the Labubu doll, its cracked smile seeming to mock her. As days passed, Sarah noticed the doll's smile growing sharper, more defined. The cracks continued to spread, revealing more of what lay beneath. She tried to convince herself it was just her imagination, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the doll was becoming more alive with each passing day. Her neighbors began to complain about strange noises coming from her house at night. "It sounds like something's chewing," Mrs. Johnson from next door said, her face creased with concern. "Are you sure you don't have rats?" Sarah assured her it was nothing, but she knew better. The chewing sounds were coming from her room, from the shelf where the Labubu doll sat. She had taken to sleeping on the couch, unable to bear being in the same room as the doll at night. One evening, Sarah decided she couldn't take it anymore. She grabbed the doll, ignoring the way its smile seemed to widen as she touched it, and shoved it into a box. She buried the box deep in her closet, piling clothes and shoes on top of it. "Out of sight, out of mind," she muttered to herself, trying to ignore the muffled grinding sound coming from the closet. For a few days, Sarah felt relief. The house was quiet, and she could finally sleep without feeling watched. But then she started noticing other things. Small bite marks appeared on her furniture, first on the wooden legs of her dining table, then on the arms of her favorite chair. She tried to rationalize it, blaming it on mice or her neighbor's cat that sometimes snuck in through the open window. But deep down, she knew the truth. The marks were too large, too deliberate to be from any animal. One night, Sarah woke with a start. The room was pitch black, but she could sense something was wrong. Her skin prickled with goosebumps, and she could hear soft, rhythmic breathing that wasn't her own. Slowly, she reached for the lamp, her hand shaking. As light flooded the room, Sarah's scream caught in her throat. There, at the foot of her bed, sat the Labubu doll. Its smile was wider than ever, the cracks now gaping wounds across its face. Sarah's eyes widened in horror as she saw what lay behind the broken smile, row upon row of jagged, human-like teeth. The doll's head tilted to the side, an impossibly wide grin stretching across its face. Sarah tried to move, to run, but her body was frozen in terror. She watched, helpless, as the doll's mouth began to move. "Now," it whispered, its voice raspy. Inhuman sound that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. It's your turn to smile. Sarah's scream echoed through the empty house as the doll lunged forward, its cracked smile now a gaping maw of razor-sharp teeth. The last thing she saw was that terrible, hungry grin closing in on her. The next morning, Mrs. Johnson noticed Sarah's car still in the driveway. Concerned, she knocked on the door, but there was no answer. When the police finally broke in, they found no trace of Sarah. The only thing out of place was a Labubu doll sitting on the bed, its painted smile as cheerful and innocent as ever. But if you look closely, you might notice tiny cracks beginning to form on its lips, the first signs of a new, terrible smile waiting to be born.